Oh yeah. Guess what time it is, guys? It's time for another edition of Comfy Sunday. With myself and my co-host, Methods. We've got a real special guest for you guys today. Craig Mason, somebody who knows how to stay comfy. There's no panic in this room. There's no panic amongst this movement, guys. We got this. Patriots are in control. You better believe that. Good evening to the audience. Good evening to Patriots from across the globe. Hello to my mods. Hi, honey. Real Red Pill Girlfriend. I know you're out there, even if you're not in the chat yet. I know you will be. I know my mom's out there. I know all of our friends are here. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today. Mostly how to stay comfy. I mean, that's kind of the theme here, right? It's what we got to do. This is our responsibility. This is our gift to the movement, to ourselves, to our loved ones. We got to keep it up, guys. What are mods? Mods are the people who modulate the conversation, I guess. All right, guys. So please do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. Stephen King once wrote, "Panic is highly contagious, especially in situations when nothing is known and everything is in flux." Well, the world we live in today is in flux, and it's filled with a flood of information that's often as much gossip as fact. Now, that makes it hard to know what the situation really is, and it also makes it easy for people to panic and make bad decisions. The only way not to get caught up in that chaos is to have a plan allowing you to avoid dealing with empty store shelves, long lines, and in the worst case, desperate people. Use today to prepare. A great place to start is storing food in your home, and I'm prepared myself, and I even ordered more recently. Now, the experts at My Patriot Supply have told me that orders have now reached about 100 times the normal volume, and they're shipping on a first-come, first-served basis. With this unprecedented emergency, orders are being delayed, sometimes 8 weeks or more. I urge you to add your order to mine today, because the sooner you order, the sooner you can get your purchase. Take action so you're ready for what's coming and save $70 on a 2-week emergency food kit when you go to my special website, preparewithredpill78.com. Those that know what's coming are preparing today. Go to preparewithredpill78.com. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, guys, I know what mods do. They moderate. They don't modulate. I thought it was a funny thing to say. So just so you know, I'm a little tongue-in-cheek, trying to keep it light. Viewers of this channel are prepared. We know exactly what's happening, and we know that everything is all good. We're going to stay comfy no matter what, guys. So please, without further ado, join me in welcoming my co-host for this and every Comfy Sunday, my good friend and fellow researcher, Methods. What's up, my friend?
What's going on, Red Pill? Happy to be here on another Comfy Sunday. Feeling extra good. Enjoyed the day. Hope YouTube chat's doing well. Let's do this.
Yeah, how you guys doing, man? How's everybody out there tonight? We know that everything is all good. Please do remember to hit that like button, hit the share button, share it to your favorite social media platform, guys. We need that support because obviously this is not the kind of message they want to get out. The message that we bring, Methods, is completely antithetical to that of the mainstream media. We know there's nothing to fear.
Right. They want us panicking. They want us worried about things and not talking to each other. So we do the exact opposite here. So I like it.
I do too. I do too. So once again, they are striking us before we even begin. Look at that. You guys, so this broadcast is already sidelined before it even begins. So the sharing and the liking and even the comments that you guys give in the chat room is more important than you can possibly know because it's, quite frankly, I'm going to use that for Frank's channel. You can put that in there, buddy. Quite frankly, the only way that we're able to get the message out and to share these broadcasts is with the help of all of our listeners and everybody there in the chat. So it really, really is quite an amazing thing to see you guys showing up and to supporting us every week. It means a lot. So, Methods, did you happen to see what President Trump said today?
Oh, I did. I was like, hey, let me hop online real quick, see what's going on. I was just kind of taking it easy before doing the show with the 5x5 people. They said to send their love.
Oh, yeah. Hi, guys.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I hop on, and I'm just tagged everywhere on every platform that I use. And I read it, and my jaw dropped in excitement. I'm all for it, Mr. President. Let's pardon him. Let's do whatever we got to do and let that man speak. And, say where the bodies are buried. And if he wants to ride off into the sunset and enjoy the rest of his life after he goes after the people that went after him, I'm all for it, man.
Absolutely. Now, just a hat tip to both Enoch from Twitter, Elenocal, and to Puppet String News. Enoch made the original graphic showing that the two watches previously dropped in the posts. One of them was at 1:29, the other was at 3:15. And what time did President Trump announce that he's considering a pardon for General Flynn? It was at 1:29. And of course, today's date is 3:15. So I just want to go ahead and show that right here. Looks like Praying Medic actually retweeted the graphic from Enoch and gave him a hat tip. And I just want to say thanks to Puppet String News for posting the additional graphic that we used in the show card here so that I could throw that up there. But very, very amazing thing right here. Clearly we've got a couple of different things going on. Today, March 15th, we've got a 1 year and a 2 year delta talking about the possibility of happenings. We've got this obvious tie-in with these watches. And at this point, anybody who can at least allow their mind to go towards the possibility that we're actually being communicated with, I think they're lying to themselves.
Right. And then as time passes and, the excitement over seeing those things, the tippy tops that we've had, people sometimes are like, oh man, I'm not too sure or whatever, but we've seen enough. And it's even Q's pointed at it before. It's like, do you really need more proof? Let's just focus on the goal at hand. And if you notice, we do a lot of work, we as a movement, outside of what Q even posts. We're all still moving strong. He's not posting that much, he, she, whatever.
Yeah.
So it is definitely interesting. I don't always do the timestamp thing. People who talk close to me will get a kick out of me saying that. But the idea of that, you can't deny that. And I'm interested to say what's going to be done in 30, because that was tied to Flynn on the old Q post.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I just need to say thank you to Salah and Great Lakes Curmudgeon for joining as members, both of you. Appreciate you guys. Mark222714 FTW says, afternoon, guys. We're comfy and enjoying the show. Appreciate that. EO2 Dave, thank you for that. Wheezy Girl says, no fear, much love, 100%. And Kim says, remonetize. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody, for the kind donations. We appreciate it. So, I like what you just said there with the done in 30. Clearly, I think that we're looking at other things that are going to be taking place. I really do feel with everything that's going on, we have the emergency declaration. During that press conference, one of the people who were speaking was supposed to say 72 hours, and she said 17 hours and then corrected herself. That could have been a slip up, but I like to think that it's, obviously a little hat tip. Somebody says, Debbie Roche says that the CEO of Best Buy has stepped down. We also had Bill Gates stepping down from Microsoft. We've had many, many people stepping down. And with the declaration called as far as the national emergency, now we've got the National Guard in at least 6 different states. We've got the governors of many different states talking about closing the borders, shutting everything down. Ohio and Illinois have both closed schools for the foreseeable future. They've also stopped traffic from going into restaurants and bars. I guess you can still get food to go, but you're not going to be, going in and sitting down and having a meal. And somebody was asking me, I'll say it, it's a real red pill girlfriend. She was asking me earlier today, what's going to happen if they do close everything down? What about everybody's mortgage payments? What about the payments to the utilities? And it's my opinion that, of course, they are not going to grind the economy to a halt and, foreclose on everybody's mortgages, shut off the power and the water and the electricity. They can't do that. Okay. 3 days without water and everything would implode. Have you ever seen the figures on that, Methods?
Oh, I haven't, but I can see where you're going with it. Yeah. Certain things have to stay in place. And if you notice how, POTUS is keeping calm throughout all these things, he's slowly leaning on different parts of the plan to handle this stuff more and more, but he's not just dropping on everybody's laps like the media is trying to do. Mm-hmm. To me, it's a slow rollout of this stuff, and it's trying to keep everybody relaxed. So the idea of water shutting off or all these things, I can't assume that's going to happen. I don't think it would. God being in control,
Yeah,
all of that. But yeah, I think it's going to be just enough of what needs to happen to have everything in place for this testing. Having people being able to go to those pop-up testing spots that they're going to do in parking lots, which I think is a brilliant idea. Mm-hmm. But for all these other things, because like you're getting at, the timing of this is just incredible. Mm-hmm. We've got Durham, supposed to be tying up loose ends in the next few months, and then we got Barr at the end of the month, and then bringing up Flynn today was very interesting to me, because a lot of us have been kind of paying attention to this week in particular, a lot of the deltas and the fact that Congress was supposed to already be closed for the week. Mm-hmm. We just been paying attention to the Q day of the month, the 17th. So for him to bring that up when that's like the only thing out of left field besides the narrative about, we'll just say Kung Flu, mm-hmm. It was interesting to me, because that means that he knows something's up. Why would he say anything about it now?
Right. And, it's clear from the moves that President Trump is making that he's very concerned about the well-being of American citizens. It's not like crises of the past when we had all of this relief going to these major corporations. I wouldn't be surprised. Somebody, I think Diane Rain says, never say never. But of course, it's a possibility. But if you don't believe that President Trump is going to step in and tell them, hey, you better not shut anybody's electricity off. You better not shut anybody's water off. You better not kick anybody out from their house, because they're unable to pay their mortgage because we have a national emergency. I can't believe that he wouldn't take some action like that. And multiple people in the in the chat are saying, no schools in certain states, things. And somebody else also said that in Oklahoma, they've suspended cutoffs for non-payment of your electrical bill. So it's okay. And more than that, what you mentioned there, having faith, this is not just faith in the president. This is not just faith in the plan. This is our faith. Okay, on a fundamental level, in God's plan and what's going to be happening here. Worst comes to worst, we are shut indoors for 30 days. I don't think that anybody is going to be in a position where we're like living in The Walking Dead or anything like that.
Right. And on top of that, we're all so connected, and outside of, the internet going down, of course, we all are built such this like communication network, but we also develop friendships here, relationships. That's why we call it the fam, because it's not just some catchy thing to say as a catch-all about people. It's like, we really care about people. We want updates when things aren't going so well. We want to talk about prayer requests when people need them. We've developed this whole, society really that is trying to be there for each other across the globe. But I also look at it like this. Let's look at it the other way. Everybody with the schools closing, certain, curfews are being set in place at times. where to go to get tested after you do the website stuff that they're doing to see if you need to be tested. Everybody has to then turn back to the news or the president to see what's the next move or anything. So the attention of the world is there. They're going to look when they typically wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, they might catch something walking by in an airport to see what CNN's barking about.
Well, President Trump made that announcement earlier today that they're doing like specific screenings at airports, and you know, so yeah, they're not going to let anything get past them, I don't think.
Right, but what I am getting at is that everybody's now paying attention a lot more than they would have been. Even your casual person that just hated Trump still has to see what happens next. You know, with the schools, with their jobs. You know, I've mentioned, you know, my wife's sick at the moment. She doesn't have what we're talking about. She's fine. It's just a cold. But the fact that she works with people at her job, you know, having, you know, patrons show up at her work, the fact that she's got a cough, she was asked to take the day off. Okay. You know, she's not the kind to do that, but everybody's paying attention to this stuff. Look at the grocery stores, people going nuts. We are in that moment to where everybody's waiting to see what happens next. And I find it a very good time for any kind of breaking information that they need the world to look at to happen over the next X amount of weeks. Yeah.
Now, W. Rain says, why did you call me Diane Rain? There's a Diane Rain that watches the show. There's a DW Rain 1, and then there's just W. Rain. So, you know, guys, if I get your name wrong because you're flying by in the chat, sorry, that's my bad. But let me go ahead and just turn on the super chat. So maybe, or not the super chat, turn on the slow mode. So it's a little bit easier for me to keep track of what's going on. I do need to say thank you to a couple of people. Thank you to Victoria Olavenik. Thank you for joining as a member. Social Observer says Hillary testimony buried now. Hillary is currently supposed to be giving a deposition for Judicial Watch. Now, I don't know how quickly that would come out, but I tend to think that that's just a byproduct. Perhaps there was some initial push to maybe make sure there was an event to cover up the fact that Hillary was going to be testifying or giving a deposition, but I feel like the decision to allow her to be deposed again was fairly recently, and I would imagine that the planning necessary for this type of operation was probably, you know, a long time ago. Tony D says, I'm just waiting for some actresses to say how hard they have it in a 10,000 square foot home with full pantries. When the maid asked to stay, she had to say no. It was so hard for her to do.
Well, it's funny because Schiff tweeted out, he's like, I represent a lot of entertainers that aren't able to get work right now. We need more, you know, funding help. And no, they don't. You've chosen that line of work. You have to understand how the world changes and how work can be affected as such. And it is tragic. I mean, I'm hearing people who were contracted to work these music festivals that are supposed to be going on, and now they've lost their contracts, and they spent a lot of money coming up for it. We're not trying to minimize the heartache and pain that's happening throughout all of this. No. But when it comes to celebrities and all that stuff, they're having to realize that they are just like us when it comes to this situation.
Yeah.
Or they need to.
And let's be honest, they can still have those events. They can just postpone them and move them back to another date, which I am certain they will do. I don't think that any celebrity in the end is really going to lose out when this whole thing is over, because they also insure themselves against this type of thing. You know, insurance companies might end up having to pay out a little bit for, you know, loss of work, that type of thing. But let's also be honest, insurance companies are collecting money on the regular, and they do everything they can not to pay it out. DHelio7 says, hey, Red Pill, I drive a bus in and out of New York City every day, and I can't change the destination sign to Red Pill 78, and I will take a picture. How can I send the picture to you so you can use it? Email me at redpill78@protonmail.com, or you can send it to me on Twitter. But actually, it would be better to tag me with it on Twitter and maybe do it a couple of times. But I would say probably just email it, because I'll see it quicker that way.
And DHelio, I don't know how you say it, but methods is spelled with a 3, not an E.
Yeah.
If you are if you are just passing this around as an idea, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be super sweet, and I would love it, and I would totally use it on the show. Holly Cowman, thank you very much for that super chat. Appreciate that as well. You guys, so just real quick, Trailblazer 17, where do you guys see gold and silver going since interest rates went to zero today? This is another thing. President Trump has been putting pressure on the Fed all this time, and now finally they've had to put the interest rates down to zero. I don't know how qualified I am to necessarily talk about that myself. Craig Mason's going to be here in the second hour. He is a finance guy, we'll say. So I think he'd be better served to answer that. But I don't know, Methods, do you want to comment before Craig's here on that?
No, my comment was to say everybody needs to follow Craig Mason on that.
Yeah.
I was excited to find out that he's into that stuff because I don't know how to answer all those things. It's not anything I've really been into.
Yeah.
Wish I have, but there's too many butterflies to chase.
Yeah, 100. Gaffer Anon says, got my bag of Boom Chicka Pop sea salt popcorn for Comfy Sunday, watching today's show with Mrs. Gaffer Anon, where we go one, we go all. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Gaffer Anon, hello, good to see you guys. Okay, so we've got Germany closing down. I know that Italy's closed down, several other European countries. I had the report from a viewer, and you may be watching. If you are, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but I believe you gave me your full name, and I don't want to reveal that on the program. Her children, she has two children who are both police officers in California in two different police precincts. And both of them called and told her that Gavin Newsom is going to close down the borders in California. My mom today, when we were walking the dogs, she said, so now they think it's a good idea to close the borders. I thought that was great. And then we've got the National Guard deployed in at least 6 states. Now, somebody also, Methods, earlier in the chat had asked what we thought about Dr. Russell McGregor's timeline, the timeline that you sent over. I mean, I really liked it. I appreciated you sending it over to me. I want to get your thoughts on it. Methods?
Oh, my bad. I was muted. I'm just over here just chatting with myself and cats. I need to go back and review it just to hit certain points. There were some things about it I found was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead with yours.
Yeah, well, I've got it pulled up, so I was just going to go through and read it because it's thick. It's got some girth. Attention, Patriots. My final analysis of how the storm will unfold. Hashtag QAnon, hashtag MAGA, hashtag POTUS, hashtag where we go on, we go all. Okay, so I shall put together all the Q puzzle pieces. In doing so, I will take my best guess as to how the ideal U.S. military strategy might be structured to complete the storm. And I just want everybody to be aware that, we also know that this is simply a theory. So I know that sometimes when we do this kind of like fun exercise stuff, people take it and they run with it and they say, this is what's going to happen because I saw it here. But I just want you guys to know that, obviously this is just a theory. So Dr. Russell McGregor continues, I am willing to take the heat if my guesses do not largely eventuate. Well, Russell, thank you very much for putting this out there for us. He says, let's start with the virus. SARS-CoV-2 is a psyop. It is a real virus but causes little morbidity and mortality. Thus, it is benign overall and less of a concern worldwide than influenza. Now, in regards to that specifically, Methods, I mean, this is something that I've been saying since the beginning, and I've taken some heat from it from people in the comment section. We've talked about it. I do believe that there is clearly an element of planning and it's a psyop, behind it. Obviously people are getting sick. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a testing kit. I don't know exactly what is making people ill. But this appears to be something different, and it does not appear to have the same morbidity rates that they're trying to, tell us in the press. And just the very fact that the press is trying to make us as scared as possible, that tells me right there that it's not as bad as it is, because everything they've been saying about President Trump for the last 3 years, we know that that's totally off base. Now, he continues, the sickness can be problematic, but only in those with serious comorbid disease, almost exclusively the elderly. And we've been talking about that. Having said this, preventative measures should be undertaken until POTUS gives the all clear. Antivirals, such as remdesivir, will be useful in ICU treatment. And as I've said before, nothing wrong with being prepared. Nothing wrong with, dotting your I's and crossing your T's. But in the end, everything's going to be okay. There's no need to lose your cool over this in the meantime. Now, the virus was engineered, it says, by the deep state in the University of North Carolina, Fort Detrick, and AAHL Geelong, and then Australian flag. It's been attenuated and neutralized by the White Hats. Now, it talks about those HIV inserts, which basically show that, this is not a natural thing. But I don't have any idea about whether or not it was, those places right there. And guys, this is going to lead in to something very interesting. Nate Kane is going to be joining us at 7:30. We're going to have a short conversation with him about where this all came from. But, this is a very long thread, and I really like the way that he put it together. Everything that he says in terms of, what's going to happen when. He talks about the quarantine camps, methods. We've talked about those before. And he's got a list of cities that he thinks are going to be quarantined. Seattle, San Diego, Riverside, Fairfield, California, Detroit, Chicago, Newark, New York, Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia. All of those major metropolitan centers where it's more than likely going to be, focused. I think that this could literally be how it goes. It's very possible. The only thing that I didn't buy into necessarily was the JFK Jr. will reveal himself stuff. But that's Russell's opinion. That's what Russell thinks is going to happen. Now, if that happens, hallelujah, that'd be sweet. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to take place.
No, I hear you about that. And to the point that you and Dr. Russell here have been making, like, it is the narrative push, and really even from our side too, with like all these press conferences about it and all these measures taking place, and then the effect of this situation doesn't necessarily line up. And we're not trying to make light of a situation that is affecting a lot of people when it comes to their work or their schedules, or even potentially losing loved ones. But it doesn't feel like, I guess because we've been so indoctrinated with movies, but when you hear pandemic, it's something crazy, and you see the big map when all the red lights show up and go crazy and they're reporting all these people dying. Mm-hmm. Maybe we've just became numb to it, researching all this stuff for years.
It's very possible.
But regardless of the situation, there was a good point in here, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who said it. They said that there's going to be a baby boom, because I guess because everybody's now bored. Yeah, and not doing what else that they're doing. And I have to give I don't know where Pixels got it from, but Season Pixels on the show earlier said that anybody born during this is going to be called
CV19.
No, it was coronials is the word that he used, and I absolutely endorse that.
That's great.
But yeah, it's one of those things that if we want to look at how we've all envisioned how certain things would go down, because if there are any arrests, and we're not going to necessarily sink our teeth into saying mass arrests are coming, end quote, but if they're going to arrest any of these people, dude, they were ready to take to the streets and protest with organized text message chains for firing Rosenstein. You remember that?
Oh yes,
they were ready to rock. They funded the money. You could tie it to Soros. Their plan is for anything to happen on the offensive back to what was going on. They're going to take to the streets and riot. Well, how many of them are going to do it if they're afraid of, selfishly getting a virus, personally, or their relatives even? National Guard will be conveniently in place. So I can hear it. I want to say, this is a definite great setting of the stage for arresting some people and then the backlash being handled.
Yeah.
Because it's still breaking the law to go out there, riot, set cars on fire, and do whatever that they plan on doing.
We see it at Michigan State University all the time, though. Right. Every time I hear about a college rioting, it's always MSU. So I just need to say thank you to Gino. He says CV19 is the new cancel culture. NBA, NHL, MLB, Disney World. Our doctor, good to see you, buddy. He says Tithe, Fauci comments, Scare Push, Wuji Labs connection, Africa virus connection. Is he being put in front of the public intentionally? Love, our Dr. D. Cynthia Pappas says, got our smart food white cheddar popcorn for Comfy Sunday now. Over-the-road truckers are still out here resupplying their TP. I really wish that they would resupply my local area. Glenette took her red pill. Thank you for that super chat. And our red pill doc backing us up on the morbidity. He says mass testing in South Korea has shown a 0.8% mortality rate. WHO says 3.4%. Flu rate by CDC put out at 6% in January. So clearly these numbers are all over the place. Tracy S. says, how do we know that the results aren't as such by the white hats to keep us safe from the FFs by the black hats and they are just normal flu? Well, I think that's a very good possibility. You know, I mean, there's a large contingency of the population who they're going to need to keep contained so that they can be protected from everything that's going to be going on. As I said before, they are setting the stage perfectly to allow for the entire shutdown of the country. So we've got the national emergency. We've got the introductory rollout of the National Guard in several states. We've got the closing of schools and businesses. I wouldn't be surprised if regular businesses started closing, if they closed down all state and federal office buildings and had people just work remotely. But Nate's here. And Nate, I want to say thank you for joining us for this conversation today, because you and I were talking over the weekend and figured out something kind of cool.
Yeah, I had a really kind of interesting discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my son who's in the Army, and he came home for basic training in December. And he had the worst, nastiest cold I've ever seen. It started with extremely high fever, and then it went to a really bad sore throat. Then eventually the typical runny nose, and then cough and congestion, and it lasted for a while. And so it was weird because growing up or raising 4 kids and having them in school, public schools and everything, I'm used to diseases coming home from school and the whole family eventually getting things. But what was uniquely different about this was I've never seen anything more virulent and more rapidly affect everybody in our family. Every single member of our family got those same symptoms, and they came about 14 days or so after exposure to him. The symptoms, then, like I said, everybody got it. Then everybody at my work got it, and then everybody at my church got it. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. So it was very unusual.
With you and your family being the vector, right?
Yeah. So I was thinking, I was wondering, and I was just curious. I was thinking, I wonder if if the coronavirus has been around, for a longer period of time in the United States, if it had gotten over here before, especially since it has such a long incubation period.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so I started kind of looking into things, and then one thing that we discovered, which was kind of interesting, was there was this event that was held by basically all of the major countries' militaries, and it was held in, no joke, Wuhan. I think it was 2 weeks before it's 2 or 3 weeks before the woman who was claimed to be patient 0 was identified.
And let's just also tell people that that patient 0 was diagnosed on November 17th. I thought that was an interesting coincidence. Now, the Wuhan military games was October 18th through the 27th. So, it's right there within that window of when people would start to show symptoms.
Yeah. So, I don't want to make a false claim.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is just purely speculation. I haven't been tested, but that's another thing too. I don't know that the current test would identify if you had already had it. So I don't know if it's looking for antibodies or if it's looking for the actual virus, but that would be an interesting test if there was a way to identify people who may have had it before who don't have it now, like by, via antibodies or something. I would be very curious, but here's the bottom line. This military, it's called the 2019 Military World Games, the CISM, was held in Wuhan on October. Opening ceremony was October 18th, 2019, and the closing ceremony was 27 October 2019. So I don't know like when people flew back. Maybe they vacationed there, a couple of days afterwards, or who knows. But it's fascinating to me. And there was a website for this. It has since been taken down.
Yeah,
a Chinese-run website, but the information is on Wikipedia, and so you guys can look it up if you want. But what amazed me was the number of countries, that participated, and it just was unbelievable. I don't know if I can share my screen with you, but
you can. Yeah, you can share it. So, Nate, when we were going through it the other day, there was a remarkable commonality between the countries that participated and the countries where we now see widespread, infection with this virus. And remarkably, the countries that didn't participate also have a very low instance of infection. So right here, this is the list of countries that have participated.
Yeah. So these, what was fascinating to me is there was a lot of countries that were very large population countries. And you can see here, to me, there was a correlation. And again, I don't want to make a false claim, but, just from an investigative standpoint, when you're looking at this, there is some correlation between the numbers of people who were sent to these games and the massive large amounts of infection in some of these countries. Almost every country that sent people there that is doing testing, there's a lot of countries that have not tested anybody. But out of all the countries that have tested people who sent people there, they've got cases. And then when you look at the list of countries that registered but did not participate, many of those countries, some of them pretty large, don't have any cases. And then there were countries, large countries that didn't register or participate at all, like like Mexico, and in some of these countries, either don't have any cases or just recently started showing cases, probably from people traveling.
Now, so this list right here, this is the list of nations that registered but did not participate. When you're looking at this, do you see any countries that did not participate but that are showing any more than a couple of cases? I mean, because we've got obviously the big number ones. Germany participated, Italy participated, Spain participated.
Yeah.
What about
Iraq? Iraq, it says they didn't send anybody, but what, interestingly enough, of course, Iraq has U.S. troops.
Yes.
That arrived there. So let's say that the U.S. military became infected. It would have quickly spread to any place. Like Iraq is on the list of nations that registered but did not participate. Philippines, a lot of soldiers travel to the Philippines for vacation from Japan and other places, and so there's a lot of places that there's a lot of contact with U.S. military. So I don't know. It's just interesting to me. It's something that I think would be fascinating to look into, especially. I think it would be fascinating to look into the infection rate in the military versus the infection rate in the regular U.S. population. Mm-hmm. I would be curious to see if medical records showed, a severe cold showing up for people in the military before it really, before the outbreak really happened amongst the standard U.S. population. And of course, we got to remember there's multiple ways the virus would have made its way here, right? It could have happened from military contact. It could have happened. Obviously, there's a lot of cruise lines have been, had infections. Airlines, anywhere you have enclosed spaces, there's likely to be, close quarter contact with other humans where it could have spread that way. So it's just something interesting to look at and consider, and I think it warrants further investigation. At least I would hope that the CDC would look into it.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, now one thing that struck me is when it was initially being reported, the various cases here in America, they kept saying that there was no known method of transmission. They couldn't track that. They couldn't track it to people who had had contact with, people who had just arrived from countries where it was at. It seemed to just be popping up. Now, in thinking about the original areas in the United States where it popped up, were those near like military bases or near places where troops would have been held?
That's a good question.
Yeah, because
it
really
doesn't. It really doesn't matter because the timing of this, right? So let's just say hypothetically, for the sake of argument, that my son, had it and brought it home. Christmas time was when all the military is most of them are going home, and they're going home to see their family members and all of that, and it could have been very easily spread that way, just kind of the same way that they had issues in China with the celebrations and things like that, and they were worried about it being spread. Everybody travels around Christmas and New Year's, so it could, if it was in the country at that time, it could have very easily spread around. It could have very easily gotten around that way to many places. So.
Methods, did you have something you wanted to say, bud?
Yeah, Nate, since you were saying it would be interesting to see, putting the side-by-sides on where things are happening, and then plus those world games that you were talking about. If you'll give the name of it again, we have over 5,000 people listening right now, and I guarantee you there are plenty of great researchers that can help us figure that out. So if you could just, in a nutshell real quick, say it again, I'm sure people can figure it out.
It's called the 2019 Military World Games. It's the officially known as the 7th CISM Military World Games, and they're commonly known as the Wuhan 2019 because that's where it was held, was in Wuhan, Hubei, China.
I dropped the Wikipedia link into the chat too. Now, something that was interesting to me is that I traveled to South Carolina at the end of January, I believe it was. Hang on, I got to look at my calendar because I did the math on this. I got sick myself on the 21st of February. Yeah, so it was right there at the end of January. It was like 21, 22 days from the date that I got back. So I flew through an airport, through two airports, and no, three. I flew through three airports because I had a layover. And there was, I don't leave my house all that often, and I'm fairly fastidious with making sure that I'm clean and I use hand sanitizer when I go out. But while I was in South Carolina, there was a report somebody sent me that at the VA hospital in Charlotte, I believe, that somebody had reported that there was a case there that they had confirmed. They never released that, and it would be interesting to me if I got sick as a result of transmission from somebody who had come back from these games, because I had that sore throat, just like you said. Didn't really have the cough, but I had, basically it was that sore throat. It freaked me out so bad.
Sore throat was horrible.
Yeah. I've never had a sore throat like that before. I immediately went and got antibiotics, and then that led to me ended up, in that hospital stay.
Well, my son got tested for strep, and they said that he did not have strep. So it was very strange that he had that severe sore throat without strep. And he ended up having to he ended up getting like a very bad case of bronchitis as a result of it.
Yeah.
And when it got into his lungs, and the only thing they tried giving him some medications, and it didn't help. The only thing that helped him was he had to take like a Z-Pack, which is like really strong antibiotics to knock it out.
Yeah, same thing that happened to me, and I had that same. I lost my voice a little bit, even after the sore throat, even before the sore throat. It kind of started like that, and it's just it was strange. I didn't have any communication or physical contact with other people besides just going there on that flight. I need to say thank you to a couple of people. Michael Smagas says, thanks, Red Pill and Methods. Thank you for that, Mike. Mel C says, at this point, I can judge the level of importance by how, the importance of info by how and when you buffer. I think it's white hats doing it, though. It calls my attention. Okay, well, that'd be sweet. Annette Nevin says, thank you. Thank you, Annette. Hey Jude says, I sent you and Methods a prayer request on Thursday. My son's friend, 22-year-old Jason Lewis, killed himself on Wednesday. His mother had thrown him out and he felt his life was hopeless. My son is afraid that he'll go to hell because he took his own life. Oh, Jude, I'm so sorry to hear that. Definitely, everybody pray for Jason. That's really, really sad. Ronnie Bear, thank you for that super chat. And Connie Graves says, how about being sprayed with this virus in the chemtrails? I don't know. I've heard that suggested as a possibility, but I have absolutely no idea. Methods, what do you think about this theory?
It's definitely something that perked my ears when you mentioned it to me. Hey, I'm going to try to get Nate on and talk about it. So Nate, appreciate you bringing it over, and I'd like to see it play out. That's the beauty of this movement.
Yeah, is
that we can bring up something, and me and you can even get something wrong, name the wrong person, and then YouTube chat will correct us without shame, and we love you for it. But Nate, that's definitely an interesting theory, and I'd like to see the side by side. So, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say one thing. I was going to point out there's a website called worldometers.info /coronavirus. Here, I'll share the link in the chat. Let's see here. What's fascinating about it is it has. Let's see here. It's recently updated as of March 12th, 1500, and it states that and there are possible outliers, because right now they're saying the median incubation period is 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
Right? However, there's a linked reference to a incubation period. It says, however, a case with an incubation period of over 27 days has been reported by Hubei province local government on February 22nd. Now, think about that. 27 days between the 28th of October, which was the final day of the Wuhan Games, and the 17th,
yes,
right?
Yes.
That's less than 27 days. So it very well, and likely they would not have she was patient zero. They wouldn't have diagnosed her with anything until she showed signs. So let's just say, for hypothetical, standpoint, that she was one of those that had a 27-day incubation period. She very well, could have been spreading it during during the time of the Wuhan Games. And as we know, this thing spreads so quickly and so easily that it very well could have infected other people that were there, and that's how it could have made it around the world so quickly.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly likely theory, and especially since they had no idea, apparently, that it was even in existence, although there is some evidence to say that they knew far earlier, because I had heard some reports that they were suppressing the search terms on social media in China well before they admitted that it had been in the open.
Real quick on the topic, since we're talking about it, Eyes Wide Open, awesome person, by the way, much love. And the chat was letting us know that the Universal Music CEO has been hospitalized for Kung Flu.
Wow, another one. Okay.
Another big one.
Yeah. Now, here's another thing, guys. I don't know a single person who I can verifiably say was infected. Myself, obviously, Nate, some other people consider it. It's a theory, but I don't know a single person who has said, I actually was sick with this. The only people that we've had confirmation apparently is celebrities and some big names. Need to say thank you to Brittany Taylor. Says still have some patients on the schedule for teeth cleaning. Curious to see if they ban elective dental treatment. Oh, Brittany. Okay, sweet. Well, keep those teeth clean and be careful. D's Nuts B Dragon says, Nate, bro, you are my hero. Dirty Panda says, odds this has anything to do with LA last year. This is definitely something we were considering on the program as well. If you remember back to the chopper raid in LA, when they went into the Guatemalan House of Culture and they brought out some type of package, considered at the time that it was some type of biological or radiological, and then they, exfiltrated it and got it out of town real quick. Since we've talked about the possibility that this is, planned to some degree by one or more individuals, that could very well have been the initial time that they were supposed to release it, if that's how it went. Lawrence Stoll says, hey, Larry, what's up, buddy? What is the current death rate for the common flu? I know that it's something like 1% or something like that. Anybody have a firm number on that?
Oh, I got nothing, but chat, if you know, tag us real quick.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to hear real quick.
Appreciate it. And then Kiss a Kitty says, not sure if I'm off topic, but I live alone. No Q supporters close by. If we have a 10-day blackout, what should I do? I have no satellite access. Personally, if there's got to be people around you that you have some level of connection to. If that's not the case, then I would make sure that you have, some provisions on hand. You want to make sure that you're prepared, because if you don't have somebody there to talk to about, this kind of stuff, might be a little bit stir crazy inducing, but you're going to be okay once the internet comes back up. All right, Nate, any other commentary on what we've discovered or what we're thinking?
The only thing that I find interesting, I've seen a couple of news stories out about this, that there's been a lot of talk about 2 Chinese spies that were caught stealing samples of viruses that were being tested in a lab in Canada.
Yep.
And I'm trying to find it, but I saw something just recently, like I want to say it was yesterday. And of course, you guys got to be very careful, because there's a lot of fake news out there.
Well, there was definitely a Harvard scientist that was connected to that. Yeah.
So yes. So there was that, and then here it is. Is this it? No. I want to say it was either North Carolina or South Carolina. I saw another article about they were doing testing of injecting a bat version of bat coronavirus into mice.
Okay, I actually heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was being done in a level 3 biological lab in I thought it was in like one of the Carolinas, and I have not been able to find out find this article, so I'm not exactly sure where I saw this article. But if any of you guys find it, what was interesting was in this article that I read, they claimed that they were specifically looking to create a virus that would have a long incubation period.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why they do these sorts of things. I guess they do it because they want to develop a super virus and then try to defeat it or whatever. But what a dangerous prospect, to do that. It reminds me of the statement of, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example. People messing around, and I don't know if that is the case, if that's what it is. All indications that have been public from legitimate sources are indicating that this came from from animals, likely, not developed in a lab. But there's an easy way to find out, right? They can look at the genetics, right? The DNA of the virus that was in Canada. They can look at the DNA of the virus that was in this lab in either North or South Carolina, and compare it to the coronavirus DNA that is being detected in people. And they could rule it out very easily, very quickly. They could completely squash any conspiracy theories by doing that, but I highly doubt they're going to do that. So
yeah, I think behind the scenes, undoubtedly they will. Motivacio Paratodo says, read the Q Post 2830, heat equals flu, and that was a quote from Ronald Reagan: when you can't make them see the light, make them feel the heat. Navy Mom Florida says, breaking, the CDC has recommended no gatherings of 50 or more people for the next 8 weeks. Keep the faith. Kudos to Red Pill Methods and our great patriot, Nate. And then Larry says, rephrased, how many have died from the flu this year? Well, I can tell you there have been between 36 million and 51 million cases of flu illnesses this year. And there have been between 22,000 and 55,000 deaths from the common flu between October 1st of 2019 and March 7th of 2020. So hold that up against the statistics of what we have here in America of the confirmed cases from CV19, and it is quite a bit more than the cases of CV19. So I really do think that you guys just keep your cool head on your shoulders, because the media obviously wants this blown out of proportion so they can use it to hurt the president. Methods?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that for sure. Before we let Nate go, and thank you for hopping in, man, hanging out with us a little bit.
Yep.
We've been discussing, I don't know if you were listening, but we've been discussing all this as a potential, even if it's a counter move, cover to further the agenda of bringing, let's say deep state actors down. You've got the National Guard in place. You've got people that are staying indoors, staying with their family. Everybody's paying attention to the news. How do you feel about that narrative? Because I'm sure you've had to have seen it being on Twitter and being so connected to Q, because you've literally been Q post.
So, it's interesting. I posted on Twitter, I can't remember how long, it might have been a few days ago, something kind of interesting. I said, look, I posted a clip that I took from an interview with Rahm Emanuel, where he basically says, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I said, you know what? I said, Donald Trump needs to take a page out of the the Democrats' playbook and use this opportunity to push for closing the getting the travel ban restrictions, getting the border funding. They just recently found, I can't remember how many it was, but they caught a handful of Chinese illegal aliens trying to cross the southern border.
Oh, no way.
Yes. I posted that link in my Twitter as well. And, it was on the Gateway Pundit. And so they're, to me, look, they do it all the time. And I think Trump should, push to get some of his agenda done, and take advantage of things. And if that includes rounding up some of these deep state actors, hell yes.
Mm-hmm.
Use this opportunity, while the media is focusing all their attention, on coronavirus to go after the deep state and bring them down. I'm 100% for that.
I just one interjection on that. I found it fascinating that before calling this national emergency in that week preceding, the ICE and the administration took the opportunity to take out major cartel members in California. Something like over 600 members of the cartels from Mexico were arrested and rounded up. So, they weren't there to cause the panic and the havoc that would have, probably been, signaled to them in the lead up to that.
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
Yeah.
That was huge. I think it was over 100 players in that.
Yeah. All right. Well, Nate, thanks for calling in, buddy. It's time to bring in Craig. So, tell people where they can find you, and if they don't know, then they can go look.
You can always find me on Twitter at Kane_Nate. That's probably the best place to find me. I stay pretty active on there. I tweet every day because unfortunately, if I ever stop tweeting, the police show up at my house saying that one of my followers on Twitter called them to ask for a well check. So I will never stop tweeting, guys. All right?
All right. Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, Nate.
Appreciate it. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right.
All right, guys. I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that, maybe that shines some light on a potential answer for what's been going on. Need to say thank you to Douglas Richard Moomey joining as a member. Thank you for that. Annie Hent, thank you for that chat as well. Chris Hawkins says that Jesus paid the price for us to live with him in heaven forever. Suicide does not override what he did for us, all of us. Okay, I like that. Rick Wolf says, we will be fine. God wins again, 100%. Larry says, just got a notice, New Jersey, heavy military activity here. Okay. Yeah, I've heard comments and reports from several different listeners that there are a couple different states where stuff is happening. Heard reports of some chopper traffic. Obviously, we have the report that California is going to be closing their borders. J9 says, crazy thought, what if there are different viruses, one to rat out the bad, one to distract, and the cabal virus to kill us? Maybe reverse order. Methods, this is something I actually saw pontificated upon in another thread. What do you think about the idea that this was originally created by the Black Hats, and as it said in Russell's thread there, that it was then neutralized by the White Hats?
Oh, that's kind of been my working theory on this, because there's just so many, dimensions to it. To me, if I have to put all my chips in one spot, it's Black Hat op that was planned for by White Hats, knowing they would do this, knowing their playbook. It would make sense for them to do. They would also understand, what's been discussed as things that would have happened if business as usual happened with, Hillary becoming president and all that stuff, because this would have been a great narrative change for Hillary to implement a lot of things on the other side if Trump didn't end up being elected, So with that said, that's where I'm at. Mm-hmm. I don't want anybody running with it, because we don't know. I can't buy into White Hat people putting out an operation that ends up with any deaths at all. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it makes sense being on the other side. Now, was it China? Was it deep state against China for agreeing to phase one of the trade deal? Because that timing was pretty, coincidental, for lack of a better term. So no, I'm with you on that. I think it was a planned for Black Hat op to be used in our favor because we're better at this than they are.
Okay. All right. Cautious Observer says, Frankie says, relax. Don't do it. And then SR Moondog says, look for POTUS getting on Air Force One. Day of prayer today. Today is National Day of Prayer, guys. Check out QPost 35. Let me get that pulled up, and then we'll bring in Craig for his segment on Comfy Sunday, you guys. While we're bringing in Craig, you guys, don't forget to like and share this broadcast. We've got just over 5,500 people watching, 1.8 thousand likes. If you guys could, if you appreciate the program and you're enjoying what you see, please do give us a like and share it with somebody in your life. Craig, welcome to Comfy Sunday.
Hello, I'm feeling very comfy this Sunday. How about you guys?
You look pretty comfy in that sweater, bud. Happy you're here.
It is. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for doing what you guys are doing. Thank you, everybody else, for doing what you're doing, because you are the news now.
Well, thank you. I would include you in that as well, Craig. We are the news now at this point.
Well, yeah, everybody watching here is the news now.
Yep.
Right. Now, and for everybody that keeps asking me and Red Pill, who do we listen to, who do we watch, and stuff like that, it's hard to tag, because if we leave out one, we won't hear the end of it.
Yeah.
But we both enjoy listening to Craig's channel.
Yep.
We like what he does. We like his format. We like his reasoning. So having him on tonight was a no-brainer.
Yeah. And, if I could be honest, with my production schedule and with just keeping up with messages, I don't have that many people that I'm able to listen to regularly like I used to. So what I do is, I keep eyes on, several different channels, and every chance I get, I try to catch up on what they're doing. You can always say that if I have somebody here on the program, it's definitely somebody that I like to keep up with their work. So Craig, thank you once again for joining us. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So how have things been for you and the missus since last time we had you on the weekend program and Saturday Night Live stream?
Things are great. I can't complain. I have a 1 and change-year-old son who is growing and teething, so he's keeping us busy, and he's very high energy. My wife says he has a lot to say like his dad, but we're doing great. None of us are sick.
Good.
And with everything that's been happening this week, it feels very comfy. I can't think of a better word to describe it than that. I mean, I understand that a lot of people are feeling a lot of panic, but I think we've been prepared for this moment for a long time, and I think we're finally seeing that it is our time to be the calm during the storm, during and after, before the storm.
Yes.
I think it's I think you guys were mentioning earlier, if this isn't it, I don't know what is.
No. In my mind, in methods, I'd like to get your thoughts on that for sure. But I feel like there could not be a better time for this to take place. I mean, we've talked about this on a number of occasions. What would it take? What would it entail for this, to go ahead and, have the opportunity to call a national emergency, to put troops on the streets? Pandemic is one of the things that I definitely considered in the past, and now we're, basically here.
Right. I mean, there's been so many times, in the last couple of years that you start seeing people talking and they're like, oh, this is a good time for it. I can see it happening. And you can kind of start buying into it a little bit, but you want to reserve judgment. But right now, we never discussed pandemic. We never really discussed it. We talked about the potential of bad actors wanting to do it as a last resort. That's been discussed over the last few years. But to me, it is the best so far. But to say, if this gets cleared and everything's fine and nobody gets arrested when it's declared, dead by summer heat for at least this year, I can't put every egg in the basket, but I have a lot in this one because it just makes a lot of sense to at least a part of needing to move this along, the justice side. That's what Trump's been talking about so much more. It's like if Trump didn't talk about, justice happening and people being held accountable, the FISA court stuff, all that at all, we would all sound, like we're wrong. But even the president keeps bringing it up. So no, I agree. We're definitely during a time that I expect for a shoe to drop that we've been calling for.
Absolutely. Well, Craig, what do you think about the news from this last week? When you're looking at all of these things happening, what are you seeing?
I'm seeing that the people are being forced to pay attention, and as Trump always does, he uses the momentum of whatever they're doing against them. So if this is, which it seems like it's a big DS operation to cause massive panic and get people to raid stores and feel scared and blame Trump and crash the markets, he is doing everything he can, and the team is doing everything they can to reassure people, to use it as an opportunity to cut interest rates and to get people to not only pay attention, but also to, as you mentioned before, get the potential of having people in a safe place where they don't want to go out and riot and where you have the National Guard activated, but it is under the guise of what the DS has done here. And I can't think of, as far as a pandemic goes, it seems like, I don't know if you could call something a safe pandemic, but it seems like it affects people in a similar way to the flu. Yes, it has a higher mortality rate than the flu, but that number has been, I think, misrepresented by a lot of the fake news, because when they do massive amounts of testing, like in South Korea, that number goes down to as low as 5 or 6 or 7 times as much as the flu, which is still significant. Well, I'm not trying to say it's nothing. Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody else had said earlier only 0.8%. That was actually from Red Pill Doc, which is, if I'm not mistaken, that's less than the regular flu, isn't it? Isn't the regular flu up over 1%?
No, I think the regular flu is about 1/10 around there of a 10%, so it's still significantly more than the flu, but it's not as deadly as they want to seem, and it seems like if we get everybody quarantined, it's going to be I don't know if it'll be easy to stop, but it seems like it will certainly stop it. But I think what this has done is I think it's really gotten people to pay attention, because when people can go along and they can do their normal day-to-day stuff, their kids go to school, they can go to work, on the weekends they can go out and do what they want. Whereas instead, their kids are staying home, their businesses may be shutting down, they may not be going to work. There's definitely an amount of panic in the air. People are, even I live in North Idaho, and it's very prepared for something like this. We're kind of in the mountains a bit, and people don't panic about much. It's very much Trump country. But still, Costco was a madhouse on Friday.
Right.
And people, they've been out of toilet paper for a week. And so it's really getting people to kind of be jolted out of their normal day-to-day life and pay attention. And if this ends up being a situation where we have massive amounts of quarantine and everybody has to stay home, they're really going to be not thinking in the way they normally do, and they're going to be paying attention. And I don't know if we'll go into 10 days of full darkness where we don't see something, where we don't see any kind of normal news, and it's just the back channel network of patriots and anons to explain things. But it will be certainly a silver lining of an opportunity for people to see what's going on and have some time to discuss and think about these things.
Well said, man, for sure. And we do know that people, like, we're glad that, for example, Red Pill's in this movement, because he would not be paying attention, because we know how much he loves sports ball. And the fact
exactly, it's a good thing that's shut down.
Right, yeah, it's shut down. Even myself, it's weird because some people know I watch the NBA. It's a vice, it's whatever. I'm sure people will send me, LeBron clips of him doing symbols with his hands and stuff, and that's fine. But to the average person, for sure, if you notice, so many different people are talking about this Kung Flu because of their favorite things are getting cut off in real time.
Yeah.
We've got other friends that, people in the movement that are into, UFC stuff, and they're actually surprised that we're going to continue doing that a little bit. And besides that, I think WWE and XFL, I don't know if they've canceled yet, but they said that they're going to keep going. But really, besides that, all of their weekend vices and stuff that they're into, what they talk with their friends about, how much longer until they can't really talk about it?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing going on, and it's perfect timing for things.
That's exactly it. I said earlier that POTUS has been setting the stage. The administration has been laying this foundation to put us into a state where we have to pay attention to this one thing and this one thing only. And if we do go into that 10 days of darkness, then by that point, everything will have stopped. Now, I mentioned earlier that Ohio has just put a moratorium on people going into restaurants for the foreseeable future. The governor of Ohio said that daycares are coming next. Now, once the daycares are closed, because you said, Craig, the schools are already closed. Once the daycares are closed, that's going to, preclude anybody from being able to go to work. They're going to have to stay home. So I would imagine that the closure of all businesses are going to be right after that. So then people are stuck at home, and there's no sports ball to watch. There's no NHL. There's no MLB. There's nothing. All of the normal bread and circus is gone. So what a great time for them to have to go into that 10 days of darkness and then force people to focus solely, laser point on exactly what's happening with this situation here. Let me just do a couple of super chats, and then I'm going to get your thoughts on that. Let's see. Mel C says, if you listen to the virtual church POTUS said he's been attending, that's exactly what they said. Their evil has been turned against them. 22,000 patriots worldwide checking into the service. That's awesome. Love it. Robin Stillman says, I am sure I had it in November. Ended up in Veterans Hospital, tested negative for known flus, but high viral load. High fever, non-productive cough, difficulty breathing, and kidneys. VA called it unknown viral infection. It's the exact same thing they told me that I had. And I tested negative for strep and anything else. Hey Jude says, Good Friday falls on 4/10/20 DJT. Yes, it certainly does. Cisco Lady Liberty says, my 3 favorite Real News Patriots in one place. So much love your way, they won't be able to walk the streets. That's right, they will not be able to. Now, I was thinking actually that this is another meaning for that they won't be safe for them to walk the streets because we're going to be under quarantine. They're not going to be able to. Hey Jude says, thank you friends for your prayers. Yes, Jude, I am so sorry. Please, let your son know and let the family of his friend know that we're thinking about him and we're praying for him. Stephanie Sprague says, did Tom Hanks get arrested and is refusing to leave his hotel room? I have not heard that. Somebody was saying some stuff about Tom Hanks yesterday that wasn't true, though.
It was a screen cap of somebody typing it out. I don't think it was from it's one of those just like an anon post from the Chance type thing. A great story, fascinating to read. I have it filed under fiction for now. But you know how those things go. JFK Jr. has been, supposedly coming forward every 6 months. So
all right. And then Zoso Dude 77 says, just remember, boys, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you get what you need. Rock on, gents. Thank you for that, Zoso. Steve Hausman says, Q post 35, 40, and 43 connected. 41020 seems relevant. Obviously. So that's a good one to pull up. Now, I also want to say, you guys, I've dropped Craig's channel into the chat a few times. I'm going to do that again right now because I'm going to end up getting.
Oh, I'm a
methods. Oh, you just muted
no,
yourself.
I'm about to riddle the chat with it.
Okay, good. And then
go subscribe.
Crash6871 says, "What's your favorite sports ball, RP? The one with the stripes." I don't know. Red Pill Doc says, "Worth tracking CEO resignations to see if those industries are less apocalyptic due to flipping." Man, we can go to resignation.info and look at all of the resignations all day. My buddy over there, Resignation Anon, is excellent at keeping track of that stuff. God's Guy and Gina Girl, good to see you guys. Glad you're here. He says, "Great time to read God's Word. Love you, bro." 100%, brother. Thank you. Debbie Spites says, "Do you think this is tainted adrenochrome?" I don't know. That's something that I've been hearing about. When we were on the stream over the weekend, I think it was on Friday, beforehand, somebody had pointed out to me that the production factory for that was actually in Wuhan. So very interesting. And I think it might also point to perhaps a reason why we've got, well, we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see if celebrities and people that are on the list are getting sicker than other people. Why are so many well-known people reported to have it? If that's the case with the tainted, then yeah, very well could be. Miss Tori says, "Watch what he said. Trump was telling us without telling us. We are going to get rid of this nasty virus once and for all. It was a message to us." Very, very cool. Momo says, "Good morning, RP78, and God bless everyone. I hope everybody is safe and secure in Hong Kong. I would love to hear about what's happening over there, Momo." And then Hey Jude says, "Tom Hanks is stuck on an island with Wilson again. His wife, Rita Wilson. What are the chances? What are the chances?"
Mind blown.
Does life imitate art, or does art imitate life?
Well, Craig, what do you think about all this stuff, man? Do you think that we are in the middle of a operation type thing? How do you think this got started? What's your thoughts, man?
It sure feels like, I mean, on a grand scale, we're certainly in the middle of perhaps the greatest military operation of all time. But you mentioned, Red Pill, a minute ago, that song that, or I think someone in the chat said, the song that Trump always plays at the end of the rallies, "You can't always get what you want, but you get what you need." He always plays it over and over again. And the more time goes on, the more it makes sense. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate watching this over the last 2 years and thinking, okay, it's going to happen like this. It's going to happen like this. And I've realized, even though I may be getting caught up in it again this time, thinking something is certainly happening now, that we get what we need, and it's not always how it goes. And I think that what's happening now, what continues to, with the escalation of closures, I just got a text from my mom a minute ago that said, "It's crazy here. All restaurants and bars in Illinois have closed and are closing in Illinois as well." Mm-hmm. And so we have in our culture, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody, with the Twitter notifications and everything else, we have constant hits of dopamine from all these things that we want. I don't think it's what we need, but I think if we, depending on how much darkness we get, or if we're stuck inside, even with the internet, we won't be able to do all the same stuff we normally do. I think it might be what we need to get away from the endless distractions and see what's going on here. I mean, it's unprecedented what's happening. You know, I haven't talked to any one single person who has said, "Oh, this is kind of like back when this is unprecedented, the level of what's happening." I mean, it does seem to me, when you look back at it, it seems like the response is overblown, but I think it's absolutely what we need. Mm-hmm. Not the virus, but I think the opportunity for
a cleansing
and reflection. You know, you mentioned, or someone in the chat mentioned, cleansing a virus beyond the CV. I think that virus that Trump is referring to is the DS.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And that, to your point about the song, that is something that I've, been trying to convey for a long time. I mean, no matter what happens, it's in God's hands. It's not up to us. Just because we decree that something should take place, it doesn't mean that it's going to. But in the end, it's going to be exactly what was supposed to happen. And I trust POTUS. I trust that God is going to take care of us. I think that it's been far too long that we've been, under the thumb of our global rulers. And the way that it goes down is exactly the way that it's meant to take place.
Which is a great topic, because Craig was talking to us before the show, today being National Prayer Day. It's very, it's perfect timing for those kind of things, to happen. Prayer is definitely necessary. It's definitely needed. What are your thoughts, Craig?
Oh yeah, I think I was just thinking about that today. Thank you for bringing that up because I was thinking about National Prayer Day and how Q says pray, and I think praying goes both ways. Of course, people have prayer requests for help about things or to send energy, however you want to look at it. But praying also, it's been studied and it affects the parasympathetic nervous system and calms our minds. It makes us more relaxed. It makes us have less anxiety. It puts us in a kind of a more, well, you could say it a lot of ways, but it puts us in a state you'd want to be calm. If you want to be the calm during the storm, perhaps praying is good advice because we're going to need to be there to be. I mean, everyone watching this, if you don't think of yourself as a leader in what's happening in this time, if there's darkness and you have to be there to be the calm during the storm, you really are a leader because a leader is someone who helps guide people. It's not necessarily someone who tells someone what to do. So if you can help guide someone through their feelings of massive anxiety, which I think they will have as they start to see what's really going on here, that Trump is not some kind of massive evil overlord, but he is here to look out for people. He's here to help us through a difficult time, as is the military. Our favorite Anon has said, do you trust the chain of command? And with POTUS at the top, I do trust the chain of command, but that's going to be a very difficult, mentally, emotionally chaotic time for people to see that. And we are here to help guide people through that, I think.
Exactly. I completely agree. You know, people are so used to not being able to trust in their leaders, to not being able to trust in the government, and we live in, what is more and more a godless society today. So people have lost that connection to their faith. They've lost that ability to pray and to, kind of center yourself. Whether you call it prayer, whether you call it meditation, whether you call it silent reflection, that's good for you. It's good for your soul. It's good for your mood. It's good to relieve anxieties. Now,
it's also good for your immune system.
It is good. Yes, you're right. It's good for your immune system. Chris Hawkins says, done in 30. Interesting. Yep, for sure. Kip's Camera, thank you for that. Emmy, Where We Go One, We Go All UK, says, thank you, Red and Methods, for an amazing show. Thank you for being here, Emmy. MN says, great interviews lately, RP. Shout out to Frank. What up, Frank? I don't know if Frank's here, but you guys know I love Quite Frankly. Leah Worth says, sweaters are to Craig what plaid flannels are to RP78. Hey, y'all's moi. I thought the same thing earlier, and I didn't say it because we were just flowing. Mary Winningham says, did you see my email with a photo of a Charleston, South Carolina testing site? No, I will try to pull that up here if we got thoughts from Methods and Craig. My friend, she's 22, just got back from Greece, tested presumptive positive. She got a result back today. CDC test results back Monday and Tuesday. Her positive result has not yet been reported in the news. I'd be very interested to get more information about that story. Mike Q says, disinformation is necessary. Use logic. Trust yourself. Keep faith. God wins. Watch what happens next. The best is yet to come. Where we go one, we go all. Pain is coming for them. Absolutely. Navy Vet says, mind blown. Ever listen to the words of Superstitious? I'll have to pull it up to make sure I'm thinking of the right song. Like Very Superstitious, Writing on the Wall by Stevie Wonder. Yes.
Why don't you sing it?
Very superstitious. Writings on the wall. Gaffer Anon says, Governor Jay Inslee is a crappy governor. Change my mind. I can't argue with you there. MAGA 10x10 Patriot Mom just gave a sticker. Thank you for that. And Adam Frank says, praying is also hunting for something to devour. Yes. And once again, we go back to the double meanings. It's been said in the post before, pray and then pray. Let me see here. So, yeah. Are you pulling up the words to Superstitious, Craig? Is that what you were doing?
I've got them here. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's go through the lyrics. Let's see what they say.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us on stage is Mr. Jeff Beck. I guess that must be from the song. I don't recall
like
that.
The first time that he played it.
they must go over that in the bumper on radio. Very superstitious, writings on the wall, very superstitious, ladder's about to fall.
Yeah.
13-month-old baby broke the looking glass. 7 years of bad luck, the good things in your past. When you believe the things that you don't understand, then you suffer. Superstition ain't the way.
Superstition ain't the way. So Stevie Wonder went to a school for blind children. And that's about all I know about him. I know that there was some talk years ago that he could actually see. I think that he was on stage and someone dropped a microphone stand and he was like, caught it. It could be just that preternatural sixth sense that he has as a result of being blind. T-Patriot says, Trump has his own news channel with Lara Trump, The Real News. Yep, I'm subscribed. Tank at Speak Project in New York of tunnels and human trafficking. Fed is closed 4 weeks from CVI News. Let's talk about the Fed dropping interest rates to zero, Craig. That's something we've been waiting to discuss with you because this is right up your alley. You know, President Trump has been he's been harping on the Fed for quite some time, asking them to bring interest rates down to zero. Now, what does that mean for the average person?
Well, for the average person, I think there's the interest rates for all time are basically at all-time lows if you want to buy a house, refinance a house. I heard from somebody that if you want to get an appointment with a mortgage broker, you have to wait 1 or 2 weeks at this point. Also, I don't know what the Fed is doing in the stock market. They have their fingers on the scale. Certainly, the plunge protection team was signed into existence under Reagan, and they certainly put their fingers on the scale there. But as far as what's going on with Trump and the Fed, I think we have patriots in control there for sure. I mean, would Trump, as our favorite Anon alluded to previously in regards to the Attorney General, would Trump allow someone in that position that he didn't trust? Would Trump allow someone in that position that's so significant that wasn't a patriot or controlled by patriots? I think we have the same situation at the Fed, and I think we are watching a scripted movie with what we see Trump saying, constantly bad-mouthing Jerome Powell. In fact, on yesterday, he was saying all this kind of bad stuff about Jerome. Oh, you know, I have every right to remove him. I could remove him. But of course, he doesn't remove him. I could replace him with someone else from there. And I'll give you a very brief history of what our favorite Anon has said about the Fed and what Trump has done and what's actually occurred. The first thing that was ever said about the Fed was an Anon asked Federal Reserve ending, because if you're watching this, there's a good probability you've been watching what's going on at the Fed. You may have read things like Ron Paul's End the Fed or G. Edward Griffin's The Creature from Jekyll Island. And Yes. And the Fed operates in total darkness. It is one of their major tools to have complete control over people, really, not just money, but people. Because if you control money and you control where the money goes, you can steal money by fiat, by inflation. It's basically theft. It's a stealth tax on everybody. And so the Anon asks Federal Reserve ending, and our favorite Anon responds with one word only, which is structure. And I think that is signaling, and you can check the facts on this, that the Federal Reserve runs significant banking structure on a national or on a general level. Here, it runs the banking structure, and then at international level, you have the Bureau of International Settlements, which helps people get paid day to day. If you were to get rid of the Fed today, it could cause mass chaos. And he's also mentioned that there is outages are significant. You know, it was about social media, but there's been 2 Fed outages where there was, just for a brief time, people couldn't get money through certain channels. And I think that was signaling perhaps that patriots are in control, or just signaling that, even if it was just a coincidence, signaling that it is significant. So there's another post, or there's 2 more posts. One I'll get to in a minute, but there's another post that mentions structure. And it's the one where he says, is there a plan for the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates to basically sabotage, I'm paraphrasing here, but to sabotage Trump for the 2020 election in 2019 to do this? And he says, plan for, we know they're going to do this. And so they started doing it a bit, and then now they're bringing him way back down. And in that post, he also says, again, structure change incoming, ? Again, he also refers to when an Anon asks him, do we have the gold? And he says, gold shall destroy Fed. So I think we may be getting the gold to return to a sound monetary system. I don't know how it's going to go down, but with everything that's been going on, you can research a lot of the people surrounding Jerome Powell, and you will find very long time in the shadows patriots, I suspect.
Right. I mean, Trump has been slowly stacking the Federal Reserve Board with people who are, at the very least, sympathetic to the gold standard.
Certainly. And the one that's especially interesting is Judy Shelton, his most recent nominee. She has been a gold bug. When he named her, it seemed to send some of the financial related media into a tailspin, just like they would have turned like, oh, this lady's insane. She likes the gold standard. And there was a recent, she was at some kind of conference. I don't know what it was. Actually, I just retweeted it so I could refer to it here. But she talks about, someone asks her about the gold standard, and she says, I think there's a lot of virtues to the gold standard. I think we need to get a system that is predictable and rules based and that people can do deals on. And it's very interesting. It's one of the most significant clips in terms of the financial future of what Trump's going to do. So you can see that on my Twitter, but I also made a video that if you go to my channel at the bottom left, there's a playlist called The Fed, and there's just one video, and I just wanted to put it there so you can see it. But it goes down all of the connections. It's 43 minutes long. I won't explain it all here, but it's quite a web. There's a lot of wild connections there. But I think I think the new structure, just like if you needed a new road or a new bridge or a new building that was decrepit, you wouldn't just demolish the old one, you'd build up the new one. I think that's what's being happened. I don't know how we're going to get rolled onto there, but I think the process is happening.
All right. Now, many people in the chat were telling us that it's not quite cut to zero, but the article that I was referring to from Gateway Pundit says that target interest rates were cut to 0, to 0.25%, and a $700 billion quantitative easing program was announced. So are there multiple interest rates that are being referred to here?
Yeah, I think what it's referring to is the federal funds rate, and it's a range. I couldn't tell you the exact detail of how it works, but also I think what's might be even more interesting is the increased quantitative easing. If you chart the first 3 or 4 sets of quantitative easing against the market indices, it's just every single time quantitative easing starts, market goes up, happens again, goes down a little, happens again, keeps going up. Mm-hmm. And so the Fed, with their balance sheet, certainly have their fingers in the stock market, and I think that's why Trump has just, if you use Twitter's advanced search function and search only tweets from real Donald Trump, and then search the term stock market, you will just find endless over and over again. Stock market, new high, watch the stock market, your 401ks are going up. I don't think Trump would ever predict anything or put his presidency on the reputation of it, anything he didn't know was going to be controlled. And I think that we all know, we all kind of inherently know, I think generally, that the dollar is based on basically nothing. Mm-hmm. And before, they would use that inflation and they'd pay off their military industrial complex friends for wars we didn't need to have, and for these massive bailouts we had in the past that were only for the cronies, and for all of these solar panel programs Obama had. All of these things are just paying people off endlessly. Trump instead saying, no, we're going to just basically pump the stock market. This seems like what he's signaling, not financial advice, of course, but he seems like he's just going to say, we're going to pump the stock market. You have all your savings there. Every single rally he tells that story where he says, oh, honey, my you're a genius because my 401k is going up. And so it seems like he's just pumping all the money into the stock market for people that are saving money there.
Oh, all right. I need to say thank you to Damselfly Moldavite for joining as a member. Thank you. Von Z says, a prayer at the end of this broadcast would be greatly appreciated. God bless and Godspeed to all. We'll be totally cool with doing that. Social Observer says 0% interest rates mean that the dollar will collapse soon. I think that's something I would like to get your thoughts on, Craig.
Yeah, I don't think the dollar will collapse soon because I think that it would cause too much chaos. And Trump has also signaled that he really trusts the US dollar. I just think that it will be, I think in a way, the old dollar basically could be collapsing. He talked about yesterday, and I think in the press conference, he mentioned offhand that we should restructure our debt. And Trump avoids talking about the national debt like a plague. In fact, at the town hall a couple of weeks ago on a Thursday, someone said, you never talk about the national debt. Aren't you even concerned about the national debt? And his response was something like, oh, no, I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned about it. We needed to rebuild our military, and then just segues straight into why we needed to spend money in the military, which I'm not saying we didn't. Mm-hmm. But Trump never wants to talk about national debt because I think, as whoever just said that, I think they're, in a sense, very much right, because Trump is destroying the old dollar. He's making and there's 2 ways. This is something I learned from Peter Schiff a long time ago that really stuck with me. There's 2 ways you can default on a debt. There's the way you or I would default on a debt, which is, I don't have any money. Sorry, I can't pay you. Mm-hmm. And then you might get your house or your car repossessed. But the other way to default on a debt is if you're a sovereign nation, you just print a bunch of money, and then debts are all denominated in whatever currency you're dealing in. And then you printed all this money, and now you're getting paid back in dollars that are worth less than they were. So Trump may, in fact, continue having the Fed, or the Fed may continue, whoever you want to look at is in control, may continue upping their balance sheet, pumping money into the stock market, endlessly spending money, increasing the debt, and then they'll restructure it in some way, or they'll pay them back in inflated dollars where all the inflation benefits went to the people. I don't know how it's going to go, but I think that they have a plan, and the Patriots are controlling. They're doing it slow, just like you mentioned earlier that they're kind of using their tricks against them. They see Trump's kind of using their tricks against them too, kind of slowly moving us away from this old system while nobody's really noticing and not screwing us all in the process.
Absolutely. Methods, you got any thoughts on that?
Oh, no, I definitely don't follow the kind of stuff. So knowing that Craig is into this, he's going to have to deal with me asking him a lot of questions so I can sound smarter when people like you ask me stuff. But no, definitely Craig is definitely somebody great to follow with these things because he at least pays attention or has an opinion about things. Real quick, but somebody in the chat brought it up to pay attention to how many people are watching right now, and we've got 5,700 people watching. Man, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just make sure you click that like button.
Also, 2.6 thousand likes, you guys. Please, let's see if we can get that up to at least 3,000. I would so appreciate it if we can get a couple more likes.
He wanted to say 4, but he just went with 3.
I'm going to be conservative with it. Eric Anderson says, "End the Fed Treasury notes backed by gold and silver." That would be the end goal that I think we're all looking for. RDoc says, "Courts shut down? Yes. How do you stop a cancer without hurting the patient? Oncolytic virus. Use their plan against them. Boomerang suicide." B. Cooper. There you go. Yes. Once again, taking their own plans and boomeranging them back and use it against them. And then Matt Jones. Matt Jones, there is no message with your super chat, but thank you very much for that super chat. Snafu said, "Where we go, one we go all." Hey Jude says, "Twitter going nuts with Biden debate gaffes. I can't wait to see the highlights." You can bet that those are going to be the entire show tomorrow, probably, because I'm sure that they are going to be insane. Annie Hat says, "Please pray for my husband home from Afghanistan." Definitely, Annie. Please pray for Annie's husband. Let's bring him home safe from Afghanistan. Faithful Anon, also the message has been retracted. So whatever it was, thank you, Faithful Anon. T Patriot says, "Speak Project video today at Oprah's house, roped off in Florida and on foot in New York." Oh, very interesting. Watch Oprah. Now, Oprah was ill very recently, wasn't she? And she was telling people to go get their flu shots, which would have absolutely zero effect on anybody getting CV-19. Red Pill Doc says, "I would think he would keep the markets up until after the election." Me too. Nat Emer will reimburse people out of work. Go check with Trump's name. Oh, get a check with Trump's name on it. EO2 Dave says, "Craig, what is quantitative easing?" And Chris Hawkins says, "I love to pray. I'll pray for us if you like, RP." We're not doing calls today, guys, so sorry about that, but we'll go ahead and pray at the end. Craig, can you explain for the audience what quantitative easing is? I can only do it in layman's terms.
Yeah, I could only do it in layman's terms as well.
Okay. I mean, it's essentially pumping money back into the market, you know? So they've announced $700 billion, but didn't they just do like 1.3 trillion the other day? So they're continuing to put this money back into the market.
Yeah, this I just looked at it is pretty much what we thought in layman's terms. I mean, quantitative easing, also known as large-scale asset purchases, is a monetary policy whereby a central bank buys predetermined amounts of government bonds or other financial assets in order to add money directly to the economy. Yeah, it's basically just a way for them to put their fingers on the scale.
Yeah. Well, hey, I want to say, guys, you got us up over 3,000 likes. Is it possible to get to that 4,000 mark? That would be incredible.
It blew right by it, man. That was awesome to watch. You guys are great.
Yeah, you guys really appreciate it. Also, just want to say that we are very close to having winners for the 200,000 subscriber mark. We're at 197,999 subscribers right now. So if anybody out there listening is not a subscriber yet, when we hit 200,000 subscribers, so we're 2,001 subs away, I'm going to be giving away 2 $200 gift cards to 2 lucky winners. And I'm choosing the winners from 2 videos. The one video that gets the most views in the span of time since I've been announcing this, and the video that gets the most likes. So if we, maybe this video could be the video with the most likes, or maybe it could be the video with the most views. Who knows? But Jason Dunn says, "You guys think that we will see mandatory quarantines nationwide? And if so, how long do you think they'd last? I apologize if you already touched on this." I know I have my opinion, and I've had some sources say some things to me, but Craig, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
I'm sorry, can you, I was momentarily distracted. What was the question?
Yeah, do you think we'll see mandatory quarantines nationwide? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, with how much things have escalated in just the last few days, it seems like that's certainly the direction we're going. And it seems like also people are very much of the mindset that that's what we need. I mean, you see from what I don't know what you're seeing, but it seems like generally the people are saying, we don't want schools open. I was just looking at my a local message board for my area here in the inland Northwest, up by eastern Washington, northern Idaho. And I was looking at posts from 2 or 3 days ago, and they were saying, why aren't we closing schools? We need to close schools. We need to close restaurants. And now 2 days later, we're closing schools here.
Yeah.
And same thing you saw in Illinois with the restaurant closures. It seems like people are really escalating, moving towards that. So unless all of a sudden the virus seems, especially in the media, which I don't think they're going to stop hyping it, or if the number of cases all of a sudden stop, then perhaps that's the case. But I would imagine that as this continues, people are going to demand increased quarantine. So I think we will get to that case. And I think that, as Trump mentioned today in his press conference, he said, we've got food, the supply chain's okay. Don't buy more than you need, but it's going to be fine. And I was at Costco yesterday. There was plenty of food. They're out of toilet paper, but you're not going to die if you run out of toilet paper. Probably might be uncomfortable and less hygienic than normal, but I think you'll be okay. But we've got food, we've got water. And if it's 10 days of darkness, even if you are out of food, if you fast for a few days, I think that's okay. I think that's healthy. But I don't want anybody to not eat if they want to eat. And Trump even mentioned, or maybe I saw somewhere, that they are setting up, I know in Chicago, they already have places where if you need food, you can go there and get it, no questions asked. So I think that I think this is all planned for. I think the supply chain can handle it. I think that it's going to be necessary if we're going towards what it seems like a lot of us are speculating we're going towards, which is a lot of the unsealing of indictments / arrests. Then I think we'll get there.
Methods, what do you think about the irony of this being the end result? The idea that the country shuts down to make it easier for these arrests and the unsealing to happen, and the people themselves who could potentially be the target of those, they cry out and beg for the country to shut down and to be quarantined, thinking that they're going to be hurting President Trump.
Right. No, it's a genius move. Let's just go ahead and just assume that's the end game.
Yep.
For this little game that we're talking right now. It's absolutely genius, because anything Trump does, the media, Dems, the old guard of people, the Brennans and stuff of this world, have to find a reason. They were arguing about Trump wearing the USA hat because it came from his store. How dare him wear a hat that he happens to have access to that says USA? To me, it makes a lot of sense to have them request by default their own demise, to bring them in such a way that they called for, because they can't turn around and then say, how dare Trump, do this? The Kung flu wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
By the way, okay. So what else have you been lying about? It's such a catch-22. They are a dangerous animal that is being cornered. They can't give Trump a win. That's why I was blown away that when AOC, Gavin Newsom, to a degree, what's his face, Cuomo up in New York, kind of giving Trump a little bit of a win, just in their words. So to me, it's absolutely the best scenario for them to have helped build the stage that they, end up, going down on.
All right. Lynn Monton says that she's new to the channel. Sorry for the ignorance, but could you please type the other two gentlemen's channel so I can sub to them? Methods is on Twitter. Methods, you want to tell them where people can find you?
Oh, yeah. I hang out on Twitter sometimes. It's at M2 Madness. You can find me over there just hanging out. Same logo that you see over here that people don't understand. Spy versus spy type thing. But yeah, that's it. What's up, Craig?
Yep. Craig, where can people find you?
People can find me on YouTube. If you type Craig Mason's Reasonable Conversation channel in the search bar, you'll find it, or youtube.com/my name. I think it's there too.
Craig Mason 84.
Oh, thank you. Craig Mason 84. We'll get you there. Thank you.
Yep.
And I'm on Twitter as well at Old Craig, OldCraig. I made that username 10 years ago. It's a reference to Old Greg, if you're familiar with that. But those are the two main places I hang out.
And I think we should also mention, if you're new to the channel, Methods and I host this program every Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. So, and basically you can't go anywhere on YouTube these days without running into Methods on other channels. He's been fairly prolific as of late. So
that's like the nicest way I've seen it described. But no, I want to make sure that we are, going around different places and hanging out and chatting with people, because we like listening to people, like, quite frankly,
Yeah.
Craig, everybody, so going and having these conversations, I'm sure people not only want to hear it, but to have us, bounce, ideas off of each other is great. And I'll go ahead and say it. I'm going to be with Craig on his channel, here in a couple weeks, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah. 2 weeks from yesterday.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna go hang out over there and talk a bunch of nonsense there too.
That's what we do every single Saturday morning. Talk a bunch of nonsense.
Need to say thank you to Social Observer says, rumor that Trump might ban interstate travel. I think that if there is a nationwide quarantine in effect, then that would definitely happen. I think that is a necessity that would have to go along with the plan here. I Dream of Jesus has joined as a supporter of the channel. Thank you for that. Amy Gore says, pray for me, please. Weak immune system and very sick. Praying for God to cover me and my home where 2 or more are gathered. Thanks, guys. Yes, everybody, please keep Amy Gore in your prayers. Mel C says, my net just got cut and shut down to 3G in New Jersey. All right, so that's something that's interesting. I'd like to know if anybody out there is having some specific issues like this. I know that I'm in a couple of different chat groups on Twitter, and people were commenting that they were having some issues. I've been having some major issues on Twitter for the last couple of days. I don't know about you guys, but it's been very buggy for me. Last night from my computer, I couldn't look at anything except for messages. I couldn't get people's profiles to pull up. I could only go to private messages, and even then, it was buggy. And then Ashley Tucker, Truthseeker 8, and Outcast have all joined as members of the channel. So thank you very much, guys. Do appreciate it. We are almost up to 4,000 likes. We're at 3.8 thousand likes, guys. So right now would be the time to go ahead and do it if you're going to pull that chain and jump on the bandwagon. 3.8 thousand likes, 5,888 viewers. D's Nuts Be Dragon says, I'm old Greg. This is something I've seen echoed in the chat numerous times since you said that. Many people saying they are old Greg. And Miss Tori says, what do you think the 10 days of darkness means? No mainstream media, please, Lord, no internet, no electricity. Any guesses? Craig, excellent question. I'd like to know exactly what you think of when we hear that phrase, 10 days of darkness.
Yeah, you mentioned a minute ago that people have been having problems with various methods of communication or various platforms, and I saw someone in the chat say Xbox Live was down today.
Yep.
As you've probably seen if you're watching this or gone back and read old drops, that they've used that as a means to communicate. And also I think I was looking at old drops today. I don't know if it was deltas from a couple of years ago or something else, but there's a lot of talk about @Jack and Twitter, and there's the old post about a test run of shutting down Trump's Twitter. And I don't know if they'll try and do that as a means to censor what's going on. If there's a drop of some raw vid evidence or some serious evidence that unites people, that shows just how sick and horrible these people are. I don't know if that's going to come now, and that will be a way that will also be what causes a shutdown, or if it's just infrastructure, or it'll be feigned infrastructure. I don't know, but it seems like there could be some shutting down of communication. But I think there's 2 back channels by which we've been prepared for this. Which one is the fact that we are the news now, and that this network that we have it's a true small world network. Because I don't know if you guys, I'm sure a lot of you have noticed that when there is some important news, you see it from Methods, you see it from Red Pill, you see it from a bunch of other people on Twitter, you hear it from your friends via text that are also doing this. It just all flows so quickly. And our favorite Anon has said we're building this network as a means to get around the fake news. And it is just amazing how robust this network has become. So if there is darkness, then whatever we have, whatever is archived offline immediately, whoever you can, I don't know if all the grid will go down in terms of cell phones. Maybe it'll just be platforms and you still have text messages and things like that. But I think we are prepared for anything that comes our way to be the calm during this time. And I don't know what extent the darkness will be, but I think it could be significant.
I tend to agree. And, one thing that you just said there made me think instantly of the idea of the back channel. I think that we've definitely talked about the fact that, Q is our back channel, to speak and communicate directly with the president. But we ourselves are also a back channel, going around the mainstream media, allowing that information to keep flowing despite whatever obstacles they're placing in our way, whatever fake news they're putting out there, whatever disinformation they're trying trying to pile on. Kenneth Yeoman says, national debt is Fed dollars, so it can't be repaid by borrowing more. Treasury credits issued without debt can. Best issued as national dividend payments to all citizens at the rate debts are paid down. Doug F6110 says, so PO'd. I'm 69 and surrounded by PC family. Grr. Well, Doug, this is an excellent opportunity to red pill your family. Cautious Observer says, odds of Q post 55 during this time. That's right. Look to Twitter, exactly this. My fellow Americans, the storm is upon us. God bless. What do you guys think? What do you think the chances are that we're going to see that directly coming from POTUS? Or maybe as an emergency? Well, I guess it says on Twitter. So, yeah.
I mean, when that happens, let's just go ahead and say it will. We're all going to lose it. We're all going to act like school children, going crazy over recess time or whatever you want to call it. I'd be all for it. It's going to be that moment where I'll rarely tell my wife to shut up real quick. I have something to do. I need to go see what everybody's doing, losing their minds. I'm excited for it. Don't get me wrong, especially when people I love my friends that I have on here, but when they're like, oh, go look at what Trump just tweeted. Oh my God. And I go look and it's something great. Don't get me wrong, but I'm looking for that statement. And so it's kind of like a false alarm type thing.
Real quick, before Craig, we get your thoughts. I totally missed a super chat from MN. He says, shout out BCP, black dollar on copper, iron limited, and then missed my last one, black dollar, copper, iron, BCP shout out. So big shout out to my friend BCP. He is one of the best content creators here on this platform. He's been here on the program before. Definitely another person that I pay attention to. He's a very astute guy, a very kind person, and heart of gold, absolutely.
Yeah, so, full endorsement.
Yeah. So, Craig, what do you think? What do you think about seeing that tweet from the president?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see it now. It certainly seems like it could be the time. One thing I was thinking as we were thinking about what could happen over the next 30 days, we still also have another 6 or 7 months, probably 7 and change months till the election, and we have a lot of October surprises built up. Trump always tells that story at every rally also. He tells so many of the same stories, I think, because he wants us to, they're significant, he wants us to consider what they mean, or know subconsciously what they mean. Mm-hmm. He always talks about how the military was depleted under Obama and how we were low on ammunition. And he says, I don't ever want to hear that again. And now we have so much ammo, you wouldn't believe it. So they have saved, there's just so much ammo saved up. So I don't know if the storm will come then specifically, or if this is the storm now when he says, when this is the case, but I think it's just going to be, as you've seen in many posts, boom, 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 and big weeks here and there, all over the place. People learn by repeated exposures to things, and there is just so much ammo saved up for this, whether that be more Strachan page texts that talk about what he said 100 times worse than what we've seen, and all of the stuff with FISA. We've got Durham and FISA and indictments. So much has been sealed off of that, and all of the HRC, all of the horrible stuff with that. There's so many things there. All of the, JE with his island, things like, there's just endless things. So I don't know when the storm will be now, if it'll be in October, when they do even more arrests, but it will be, it's coming. As Method said, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And I think it's just going to be repeated things happening with all the ammunition saved up over the next, until the election.
Right. No, we're at like a factory reset on the news, because you have to think it was all impeachment and, Senate trial stuff, the Ukraine phone call, we got to remove him now quickly, blah, blah. And then we, conveniently had this thing show up with the Kung flu. We have a clean slate, if you will, on the news. That's why, once again, the fact that Flynn was brought up during all this time, Trump randomly tweeting about it
at that time,
right at that specific time, leads me to believe that we're going to have some things that play into that favor to make sense for Trump. But we do have kind of like a clean slate moment to where anything can break as news, and everyone's going to go look at it, even if they're just assuming that the new news is about something with the flu.
Need to say thank you to MN says again, gold, silver to limited, copper, iron may be better. I think gold and silver are probably the most likely in terms of backing for dollars. Copper is very plentiful, but I mean, it's also used in a lot of industry. So I don't know how likely it is that they would use that, but Osborne 1300 has joined as a member. Thank you for that, Osborne. Alexandria Occasional Cortex, candidate for the Arizona State Senate, I believe that was, says Arizona Secretary of State won't let me list qmap.pub on your webpage. That's a shame. I guess they know what it means. Carol Lawson says, do you know about Nasara? Santa Surfing has been talking about it. And Jason Dunn says, when do they use Julian Assange? Well, the extradition is in the process of happening right now. And I've just been notified by Methods that we are over 4,000 likes, 4,200 likes. Thank you guys. Everyone here, do appreciate it. We've got 7 minutes left in the broadcast. I would urge anybody who has not yet hit that like button to please go ahead and do so. I know we're going to have some viewers who don't have YouTube accounts, so they're not going to be able to, but over 6,200 people watching right now. Gasara. This is a topic that I see a lot of people talking about and asking about. Now, I've heard a lot of people making YouTube videos about it. Now, if there is some type of currency reset, I mean, wouldn't that essentially be Nasara, or is that something else? Craig, do you know anything about this topic?
Yeah, a little bit. I haven't researched it in depth. It seemed, from what I've researched, it seems like there's some aspects of it that it is what's going on. It seems like it's kind of a very specific package of things that I don't know if it'll happen like that or not. I try and follow the facts where they lead. I don't know if that's something that's going to happen on its own or if it's going to be aspects of it. But I think the general idea of we are having some kind of mega reset, I think that's in the works. Oh, good times. I love when that happens.
Or I looked into it a little bit back when it kind of became a thing amongst the quote unquote truther community. I don't have like a fresh opinion on it, so I don't want to just act like I know what I'm talking about. I was hoping Craig had more to say. Uh, right? No, I will say, ask him. All the people that are sending me the links about it, I love you. Thank you for it. Send it to him and ask his thoughts. And let's get him educated on it so he can explain it better.
My microphone got muted, guys. Sorry. I saw a couple people say that Nasara is actually something about not just a currency reset, but some type of reimbursement to the people of America or the people of Earth. Yeah, thank you, guys. Sorry, I have a touch sensitive mouse, and so sometimes it will change things, and I don't mean to. I just get excited.
Quick 5x5 for y'all to let us know you can now hear him.
Yeah, please tell me that you can hear us, because I definitely am not muted anymore. Kimberly Bogan says, Team Bogan here, loving RP78. Thank you very much, Kim. Appreciate you guys. Jason Dunn says, new currency may be toilet paper. If so, I have rolls of cash. Yeah, definitely. In today's current climate, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of people using stuff like that, to profit over people. They heard the story about a guy who purchased something like 17,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, tried to sell it on Amazon for like $70 a bottle. Luckily, somebody at Amazon shut his account down and he was not allowed to price gouge, but that is a pretty disgusting practice. Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all.
No, he's definitely going to have a clean, like, multiple generations after him with all that. That's insane.
Yeah. What are you going to do? When you're not allowed to sell on Amazon and you're sell it on eBay, I suppose?
like I hope like he sold his wife on it. Like, no, I need the garage just for a little bit.
Trust me, honey.
It'll be fun. You can park it. Just give me a week. I'm going to sell all this. And then now he's got to deal with the scorn of his wife.
Oh, Lord. That's like something that your spouse would really, really never let you live down. Bill Daly says, hey, RP, if you run out of toilet paper, here's $5. You'll know what to do with it. Thank you very much. And then Shotokan Smith says, Generation Q. That is another great way to describe the people born during this generation. All right, guys, well, we're looking at the top of the hour. It is 8:57. It's almost time to end. So, Craig, what final thoughts would you have for the audience, especially considering everything that's going on right now?
Well, I think it's about to be a time where people really are forced to pay attention. As we were talking about the shock that could be coming to the system, I kept thinking about the scene from the first Godfather where Vito, the Godfather at the time, is talking to Johnny Fontaine, the singer, and he's coming there with all his woes, and he says, "What do I do? What do I do?" And the Godfather is, he's soft spoken, generally, not a soft guy, but soft spoken, kind of says a few things. He stands up and he shakes and says, "You can act like a man." And I'm not advocating anybody do that, but I think that's kind of what happened. It's kind of going to be a shaking up of people, and they're going to pay attention. And for the first time, they're going to start paying attention and thinking and looking at Trump from a different perspective, looking at this movement from a different perspective. I've noticed that over the last few days, it seems like people are really kind of coming for this movement a lot. Maybe, I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but I've also noticed at the same time, I was a friend of my wife's on Instagram. I noticed she was saying she's very anti-Trump, saying, actually what Trump's doing here is pretty good, because he's talking about, she's a flight attendant, and he's talking about, we're going to help people that are out of their jobs. This is really going to be, as Methods, you were saying, a reset of the news cycle. It's also going to be a reset of people's perspective to go, whoa, I have to question what's going on here because things are wild. I don't know what to think about this. So I'm going to take a fresh look. I think that's exactly what we need.
Methods, what are your final thoughts?
I've just enjoyed this entire conversation tonight. Yeah. Craig, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us and chatting. Always a pleasure, and never enough time when we do get the chance. But as far as everything happening, all the points made tonight are something for everybody just to chew on, consider, but we need to keep our eyes open. We need to keep looking at what's happening every moment, call it out, and we'll keep moving through all this. But just remember, we keep saying the word comfy, but that's because we want everybody to understand, take a moment, breathe, relax, just take everything in and try to understand it the best you can, and lean on each other. Reach out if you're having a hard time, instead of just turning off your phone when you don't have anybody around you that might be into this stuff. Reach out there's so many great people in this movement. So just take care of each other the best you can. We might get busy or flooded with messages, but there's many of you out there that just reach out and just say that you love us and give us that moment that you're there for whatever you can do. And that's what needs to happen. We can help each other through all this. We can get through anything together.
Yeah.
But yeah, Craig, thanks for being here tonight. We absolutely love it. And we'll have to do it again.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you guys so much for having me on. It's a pleasure. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally could go for another hour, and I saw a lot of people asking us to continue on, but unfortunately we've all got other stuff we've got to do too. Just need to say thank you to Alexandria Occasional Cortex. It's actually No Name's Senate seat that he's running for, U.S. Senate. So very, very cool. MN says, value for value, copper and iron are more in line with the U.S. dollar. Okay, that makes sense. Madeline Shockley says, federal student loan, I hope they're showing zero. I checked my student loans last night and again today. There is some maintenance being done on the system, but my student loans are not showing zero. If only. You can bet that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that, because that would really, really make my day if they did. Sandra Greenman says, love Comfy Sunday. We love having you guys here with us. Tanya B says, I red-pilled my husband, Corey, this year. He now watches your show daily, RP. Awesome. Well, Corey, glad to have you part of the family. Sue Randall has joined as a member. Kojo has also joined as a member. And Into Now says, great job, RP. Great job to Methods. Great job to Craig, and great job to everybody here. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to all the viewers. Thank you to everybody who helped us get up to 4.6 thousand likes. Love you guys. I do appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and see you next time. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. for the regular daily broadcast. All right, guys. We're going to do that prayer real quick from Soko. Okay. This is prayer of God's provision. Dear Father God, thank you for your unfailing love for me, your blessings and goodness. Thank you for your faithfulness to guide me and see me through times of uncertainty, for lifting me up and setting me on high. Thank you for scripture that comforts and reminds me of your promises, plan, and provision. Thank you for taking away my fears and worries, the what-ifs, and reminding me that my help comes from you. Help me be a good steward and to sow wisely. In Christ's name, amen. I think that's
Amen.
perfect. That's about as perfect as it gets. All right, guys. Thank you once again for an excellent, comfy Sunday. And please be kind to each other. Don't forget that it's not just the people in this movement that you need to be there for, because right about now, I know a lot of people are getting some calls and text messages from some people who might have laughed at this whole thing a year ago. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Be safe and stay prepared.